Good morning. The time is 8:06, January 27th of 2026. In downtown Wausau, currently a temperature of 1 degree above zero with a wind chill factor of 16 below. I am Chad Holmes along with Ian Welsh. It is the Chad Holmes Show here on 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app, and also on YouTube, youtube.com, and the 98.9 WXCO channel. Coming up at 8:35 this morning, we'll be joined live in studio by Wisconsin State Treasurer candidate Yi-Leng Zhang. That's coming up at 8:35. But yesterday afternoon, stopping by our studios on as he was in Wausau for a business trip, Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul. And we had an opportunity to speak, me and Isabella Nieto, with Josh Kaul. And welcome to Wausau, Attorney General Josh Kaul. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Well, number one, some breaking news today, actually. We saw that the state of Wisconsin is involved in a new lawsuit filing in support of Minnesota against the Trump administration. Anything you can share with our listeners about that?
Yeah, well, the state of Minnesota has challenged what's going on with ICE and other Department of Homeland Security agents who are there and some of the alleged abuses that have been taking place. We filed a brief with a number of other states supporting the position that Minnesota has taken. I'm very concerned with what we're seeing going on in Minneapolis and the nearby area. It's pretty clear, I think, that community is being targeted by the administration in a way that is inconsistent with our values and in a way that's inconsistent with our Constitution. I don't want to see something like that happen in any community in Wisconsin. And I think the sooner that we're able to put a stop to this in the Minneapolis area, hopefully the less likely it'll be that we'll see something like this again.
Isabella?
And I have a specific question about, something that's in the brief. There's a specific line in the brief that I wanted to ask you a quick question about. It's about, kind of the distinction between, what the administration is doing. And it says, to be clear, the amici do not contend that the defendant's conduct infringes on state sovereignty because it reflects an increase in purported immigration enforcement. Defendant's conduct infringes on state sovereignty because, as set forth above and in the plaintiff's motion, defendant's actions have the purpose and effect of inflicting maximal harm on state, city, and community institutions. Can you tell me a little bit about what that means and why that distinction is important?
Absolutely. So the federal government has responsibility for enforcing our immigration laws. And the federal government, under both the current administration and previous administrations, has enforced those laws. And that is their responsibility. There's different policies that different administrations have, and that's how our system works. But what's going on in Minneapolis is fundamentally not about immigration enforcement. It is about causing terror within an American city, causing terror among people. And, even this recent letter from AG Pam Bondi, where one of the things she cited as a reason that would cause a withdrawal of some of these agents was to release the voter rolls, shows that this is not fundamentally about addressing immigration issues. This is about putting people into fear. It's about trying to punish this community and punish the state. And that is where we get into state sovereignty. We have a system set up where we've got state governments and federal governments. It's one of the ways that the founders of this country wanted to protect liberty. And it's been really effective. And you can see how it protects liberty as things are playing out right now in Minneapolis. Having states be independent entities that are able to stand up for themselves and to disagree with the federal government has been important to our system for centuries. And that's what we're concerned about here. And that's why we framed it that way.
It has been just over a year since the beginning of the second Trump administration. And generally, being somebody that works in justice, and I often think about Lady Justice and the importance of justice as part of the foundations of our system. There have been, I think, examples where there have been cracks that have been shown. And I think one of which is this idea that perhaps you can buy justice for a pardon, X number of dollars. In other areas, how difficult is your job as the top law enforcement official in the state of Wisconsin, not only to do the job of working with the laws, but also with the people? And I think one of the things that we try to talk about here is that our system is so vitally important. 250 years of this system. Has it been more difficult in order to have that trust with the people that you're serving here in Wisconsin because of all the outside noise and issues that are currently in the headlines?
That's certainly a concern I have, and it's happening in a few different ways. One is there is a real concern about accountability. The Supreme Court, I think, mistakenly ruled that there's wide presidential immunity for certain official acts, and that has led to, I think, a sense of impunity with the Trump administration. You also have the president issuing pardons of people who in some cases were convicted of really serious offenses. And there's a feeling that, if you're Elon Musk, you may have more access to the levers of government than some of the rest of us do. Not necessarily because you're somebody who's got better ideas, but because you've got the connections that help you do that. And we obviously saw a lot of concerning stuff coming out of Doge. What I think is important for people to know is that this is a system that has served this country incredibly well for a long time. If we don't have a system where we're governed by the rule of law, that means we have people who can make arbitrary decisions that govern what happens in our lives. That's not a way that I think anybody who lives in a democracy wants to see the country moving, but it's been a theme of the current Trump administration, and it's really concerning. So I think it's important that we push back on these arbitrary and often unlawful actions we've seen from the administration. And that's what we've been doing over the course of the last year plus now. My administration has joined more than 40 different multi-state suits challenging different Trump administration actions. We have gotten orders blocking a lot of those actions. There have been some cases where the administration has backed down. I would love to tell you we keep having all this success because we're the greatest lawyers ever. But the reality is the relief we're getting in some of these cases is considered extraordinary. But courts are granting it because what the Trump administration is doing is extraordinary. They are violating the law. They're flouting it in a lot of cases. That's why we've been able to step in and been a real buffer against a lot of the chaos that we've seen from this administration.
And I know Isabella has a follow-up based on those cases.
Yeah, you mentioned, over 40 lawsuits, that's a lot of them. What are some of the issues that, the state is helping, maybe even other states, push back on? What should people know about the lawsuits that Wisconsin is involved in?
Yeah, unfortunately, the lawlessness we've seen from the Trump administration is pretty widespread. So the issues have run the gamut. A lot of them relate to efforts by the federal government to cut funding unlawfully. So Congress has passed a bill. It was signed into law by a president. And now the Trump administration has come in and said, we don't care that that's the law. We're not going to fund this, even though they're obligated to do so. So over the summer, for example, we saw an effort to freeze a bunch of sources of funding for schools. The impact in the Wausau area alone would have been nearly $500,000 over the course of a year. And if you think schools are sitting around with hundreds of thousands of excess dollars that they can all of a sudden reallocate in their budget, you don't know how schools work. Mm-hmm. This would have had tens of millions of dollars of impact across Wisconsin and even bigger impact nationwide. So we filed suit. There were also some Republican senators who pushed back, and ultimately the administration backed down and it agreed to release those funds. But that's one example of where they've stepped in the way of funding that was critical. They tried to dismantle the AmeriCorps program. It's another example of how they have disregarded the law and tried to cut things. They've also added unconstitutional or unlawful conditions to different grants. So one of the things we've fought in a number of cases are their attempt to require state and local law enforcement to cooperate with their immigration enforcement efforts. If we hadn't fought that, imagine if Minnesota hadn't fought that. They could be saying, you've agreed to be part of what we're doing in Minneapolis. Fortunately, we've been successful in challenging those things. There's also been a real threat to data privacy as the administration has tried to gather information about SNAP applicants and recipients, for example, or people who are on healthcare programs that are government administered, or to get our voter data. So in a lot of areas, we've been involved in challenges. The good news is we're having a lot of success. The bad news is there are a lot of fronts we need to be pushing back on.
And that's actually a point I wanted to ask you about, because this weekend, the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, sent a note to the folks in Minnesota saying, well, we could bring out the ICE troops and leave if you give us your voter information rolls. Could you explain what is the law there? Because I could actually, in a sense, if you really put your imagination to use, say, well, maybe there is some lawful reason that the federal government would want to have some of that information, but at the same time, it just feels so overbearing in this case, where we just want all this information to be able to use it to our own devices. Could you maybe delve a little deeper into what that request that the Trump administration has made, I think not just to Minnesota, but all over the country, what it means in terms of the law and also what it means in terms of the privacy of the people of the state of Wisconsin?
Yeah, there are a number of states now, including Wisconsin, where the Trump administration has asked for voter data from the states. And our election commission voted not to provide that data. And they were clear why they were doing that. You can actually, anybody can go online and buy the voter file. There's information that can be purchased. It does not include people's sensitive private information, like their social security number, for example. That information, the election commission made clear they are prohibited under state law from disclosing. So they said, we're not going to violate state law and give this to you. We all share an interest in ensuring that the voter files are accurate, that people who are registered are those who should be registered. But we know in Wisconsin that our system works really well. And we know it because our elections are so close and they are challenged over and over again. We had, a statewide recount in 2016. We had a recount of certain counties in 2020. And our system has consistently shown to be effective, that the results reflect the will of the voters. And you can even just tell that from the results. We have, 5 of our last 7 presidential elections were decided by less than 1 percentage point in Wisconsin, and they've gone both ways. So the system is fair. This is the Trump administration trying to pursue this conspiracy theory about the 2020 elections that refuses to go away. But it's part of a broader effort to gather up all this data, which is really concerning to those who care about privacy and civil liberties. It's one of the reasons we're fighting back here.
And I also want to ask, the data issue is such a huge issue for locals, on the personal level. What are some of the other things that, are impacting daily Wisconsinites when it comes to these lawsuits?
Yeah, I think the funding cuts are really significant because there are a lot of sources of funding that we just have come to rely on. I mentioned the education example before, or AmeriCorps, but there's also funding that goes to medical research, for instance, where they've tried to significantly reduce the funds that are available. There's other stuff that helps keep communities safe, like disaster mitigation efforts. They tried to cut funding in that area as well. So that's another example of an area. Additionally, one of the cases we have relates to a provision of the so-called Big Beautiful Bill, which we refer to as the defund provision, where Planned Parenthoods are given this difficult choice. And the idea behind the bill was to try to force Planned Parenthoods to choose between providing general reproductive health care services or to provide access to safe and legal abortion. That for a period of time that caused Planned Parenthood of Wisconsin to shut down its abortion services. And we have a challenge arguing that Planned Parenthood is being targeted because of its political speech. We talked before about A.G. Bondi and threatening the state of Minnesota. You are not supposed to use the levers of government to target people because they're doing something lawful. That is not what you're supposed to do. That is how you infringe on people's rights. So we think we have a strong argument that what they did in that bill is improper. But that case will play out, as we move forward.
Coming up in just a few moments, we will continue our conversation with the Attorney General of the state of Wisconsin, Josh Culp. Again, don't forget, coming up at 8:35, we have a discussion live in studio with State Treasurer candidate Yi Leng Zhang. And also don't forget, tomorrow morning at 8:06, we'll be joined in studio by former Wausau Mayor and current Marathon County Board candidate Katie Rosenberg. The time is 8:20 here on 98.9 WXCO. And welcome back. 8:22 is the time here on this Tuesday morning. I am Chad Holmes, Chad Holmes Show. We are continuing our conversation with the Attorney General in the state of Wisconsin, Josh Call.
Justice in the general terms. You talked about court cases going on, and we've seen so many battles, I think, between federal officials and state officials around the country. Do you think the system is working right now?
I feel good about how the court system has reacted so far during this administration. There are, I think, a few points that are really important to make. One is Donald Trump is really outstanding at commanding attention. We all see it all the time. We see him all the time, and when he makes some pronouncement, it's front page news. It's on the media. They're taking this action. They're taking that action. What you don't often see on the front page of the paper is court has blocked Trump administration effort to do this thing, and so I think that to some extent, a lot of what the administration has done has actually been successfully blocked through some of these actions. But I think that just doesn't get the same kind of attention that the action does in the first place. So that, when they talk about dismantling AmeriCorps, that gets a lot of attention. The court order that helps restore AmeriCorps maybe gets less so.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there's maybe more going on than is always front and center in the news. The other thing is, like I said, the courts have been engaged in a lot of these cases. We're, like I said, we've joined over 40 multi-state suits. In a majority of those cases, we've gotten some sort of positive result, either through a court order or because the administration has backed down. Others are still pending, and we're waiting to see. A lot of them are still working their way through the early phases of the cases, but in a lot of those, we've gotten these emergency orders early on. So the lower courts have been very good at holding the administration to account and protecting the Constitution. The U.S. Supreme Court, I think, remains to be seen. I think their decision granting this broad immunity is part of the reason we're facing some of the challenges we are today. There was an opinion that allowed for these so-called Kavanaugh stops. That's of significant concern, and the Supreme Court has now tried to, at least Justice Kavanaugh has tried to walk that back a bit. But I think that's a concerning development. And then the Supreme Court has been very supportive of what the administration has done, or at least permissive, when it comes to executive power and allowing the president to have a lot of control over the executive branch, whether that's firing employees or trying to significantly reduce agencies. But I also think we're going to see some significant cases pushing back. And the tariff case looks like they're inclined to rule against the president. This effort to fire a Federal Reserve Board member seems to have gotten a lot of pushback. I think the birthright citizenship case, where our Constitution literally provides for this, and it has been understood as a constitutional protection for over 100 years. I feel really optimistic that the Supreme Court will ultimately stand by birthright citizenship. So the court system has, I think, overall been very effective. Congress, on the other hand, has not really been very effective as a check on the president. And so that's how our system was set up, checks and balances. We've got the executive doing what the administration is doing. It would be great to have Congress that was doing something, but the courts have been important, and the states, often in conjunction with the courts, have been important. So there are parts of the system that have been quite effective. There are other parts that leave a lot more work to be done.
You've mentioned a few of these successes already. Could you kind of give an overview of some of the successes you have seen in all these cases?
Yeah, in a lot of these cases, the administration has tried to do something very abruptly, often without notice. I mentioned the education funding before. That happened very abruptly. And so schools that had been expecting to get these streams of funding as part of their budget all of a sudden had to scramble in response to these changes. When there have been actions that happen very abruptly, we have often gone to court and asked for what's called preliminary relief, where we say to the court, this case will play out over a period of time. The justice system is sometimes quite slow, but we need an emergency order or a temporary order that blocks the administration from taking this action. So they need to be blocked from putting this grant condition as part of a grant, for example, or their effort to freeze this source of funding should be blocked. So we will often ask for that from the courts. In some of the cases, we've gotten orders like that have stopped the administration. In some cases, the administration has preemptively backed down, like I mentioned in the education context. There have been a variety of ways that those things have unfolded. But in a lot of these cases, we've had success. In others, the process will play out over a longer period of time because the need isn't as urgent. So the president, for example, has said he's going to make changes relating to election oversight, for instance. That's another case. Some of these things may play out over different periods of time, but we've tried to use the tools available not only to get relief, but to get relief when it's needed to make an impact.
Before we went on the air, I asked you about why you were here in Wausau and you were visiting some folks from the DOJ that work in this area. Could you maybe explain? Because I think a lot of people think, hey, DOJ down in Madison. How is the DOJ reach into the Wausau area?
Well, part of what we do at the Department of Justice is we've got our Division of Criminal Investigation, and their responsibility is to investigate crimes of statewide importance. And that includes investigating homicides, sexual assaults, arsons, fraud, internet crimes against children, some really, really serious offenses. They often work in combination with local law enforcement as part of efforts to investigate cases. And we have several DCI offices in the state, including one right here in the Wausau area. So I had a chance to check in with some of the folks who work there today. They do incredibly important work to keep communities across the state safe. And we're really fortunate as a state to have a division like our Division of Criminal Investigation that both has a ton of expertise and can conduct significant investigations themselves, but also that works with partners in law enforcement and supports law enforcement agencies across the state.
And Isabella, do you have a final question for the Attorney General?
Sure. So these legal cases, they can get really complicated for the average person to try to decipher. What are some recommendations you have for locals who want to understand more about these cases that Wisconsin's involved in?
We try to talk at the Department of Justice about what's happening in these cases, and we try to highlight when there's an order that changes fundamentally what's going on. So what I think is really important about some of these cases, because there are lots of developments in these cases and there's a lot of procedure that goes into them, but sometimes you will see orders that say this policy is blocked. They'll say enjoined in the court decisions. That's when there's real significance in the case. Part of our job at the department is to inform the public about what's happening in these cases. So we try to do that. And hearing from people as we communicate about the work we're doing around the state is also a way that folks can learn more. But we have a website. We release this information at the Wisconsin Department of Justice, and we encourage folks to learn more.
Attorney General Josh Call, back in a moment. And welcome back. Chad Holmes Show, 98.9 WXCO. Online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. First time I've taken a breath here this morning because we had such a tight window with the Attorney General in terms of his visit yesterday. The timing came out, so it felt like we were hitting on hard brakes, but I want to say properly good morning to all of you. Good morning to you as well, Ian Welsh. We'll get back to you as well a little bit later in the program. But we continue here on a very busy Tuesday morning, and we're very happy to welcome back to the studio a man that we've had plenty of opportunities to talk to over the last couple of years, but he's got a new project, if we can call it that, a candidate for the state treasurer in the state of Wisconsin, and we're very happy to welcome across the table Yi Lang Zhang. Yi, great to see you again.
Thank you, Chan. Thank you, Isabel, for allowing me to be able to be here.
And yes, we do have Isabella Nieto, our news reporter, joining us to talk to Yi here this morning as well. I'm going to ask the simple question to begin because I talked to you before we went on the air. You had options in terms of what you wanted to do here in the 2026 cycle, and you decided to run for statewide office, the state treasurer position. What went into your thinking, and why ultimately was this the race you wanted to run?
Thank you, Chad. Obviously, I spent my entire life in, nonprofit. I've been a nonprofit executive at multiple nonprofits in the local area, but also across the state. I've sat on boards. I've been on local government. I've been on, foundation boards. And one of the things that I value being able to do was bring a frugal mindset, to a lot of the work that I do here. So when I was looking at looking what I wanted to do in the future, I wanted to make sure that I had an ability to have impact across the state here, holding individuals accountable, expand financial aid, and also work on returning money back to the people that matters most here. So when I thought about it, and came to the conclusion that the best position for me to be impactful would be the state treasurer position.
You used the term impact and impactful. I think for a lot of folks in the state of Wisconsin, maybe people that don't follow government that closely, they think of governor and maybe state assembly, state senate as those impactful positions in Madison. Could you explain to folks why you think that this role is impactful and worthy of your time and talents?
Yeah, the state treasurer position, often the people look at it, that position, and feel that it's a ceremonial position, but it's not. It's about accountability. This position here has the ability is held accountable by the Wisconsinites. It's not accountable to the governor or the state legislator. I mean, in 2018, it's the only position that has received a renewed mandate from the Wisconsinites, because in 2018, Wisconsinites voted to keep this position when there was opposition to try and remove this position. So they believe that having independent fiscal watchdog that watches the taxpayers' funding, it's going to be spent on, is very crucial to the progress of this community here, and also ensuring accountability in our state here. And I've been in, on the county board, the school board, the village board, and I've served in roles as the finance committees, where I've served as where we provide oversight, where we provide making sure that the processes, there's some transparency, that that individuals held accountable. But as a local nonprofit, I'm working in a local nonprofit. I've also learned how to look at budgets, making sure that we are being creative with what we're doing. So as the state treasurer, one of my goals here is to be working on that intentional effort and grassroots effort to ensure that there is accountability, there is transparency, returning money back to individuals, expanding financial literacy, and working with partners, building coalitions to address the affordability crisis in the state of Wisconsin here.
Isabella?
If I'm not mistaken, you are still running for local office, correct? On the county board?
Yes.
Or the school board as well, or just the county board?
That's correct. I'm running for those. I'm very passionate about my local community here. Obviously, if we were to proceed forward with with whether it's with the state legislature, the state treasurer position, that's a discussion we can reevaluate. However, I would say is that I'm very passionate about the school district. I'm passionate about counties, so I want to make sure that all my residents, all my constituents are taken care of anyway here, especially the students, because the most important assets that we have is our people.
You're on the campaign trail for all of those positions right now. Tell me a little bit about how you're balancing that, how those kind of feed into each other.
Yeah, well, the greatest part is that it gets all three of those campaigns allows me to be able to go out there and have conversations with individuals, true conversations with people. Whether it's a mom in the grocery store, or a dad in the yard, or even students that are college students at our local campuses. I'm being able to have conversations with them about the challenges that they're seeing, the fact that they're struggling with the affordability crisis, struggling to find childcare, struggling to find housing, good paying jobs, and also making sure that that our local unions and individuals are being supported as well. So these campaigns are allowing me to have firsthand knowledge of what our community needs.
You were talking about some of the aspects of the state treasurer position again that you talk about impact. Um, are there areas that perhaps that have not been maybe used properly that you look at the position that maybe you would be able to go into and be a bigger impact? Have you been able to study that and have ideas on how you would use the position should you be elected?
Yeah, so the position, the state treasurer positions, in these constitution, it's specific states out. This position here is supposed to be a fiscal independent watchdog. It's supposed to be working with the Department of Revenue to return unclaimed monies back to the Wisconsinites, and sitting on the board of Commission on Public Land Trust. Now, those are all very important positions, but I know that the most important power or role or responsibility you have is using the soft powers that it's given to you. And I think the best example I would say is being able to build coalition to address issues. Now, I know no one elected official can actually address all the issues in the state of Wisconsin here, or even in this country here. But by working with other partners, private sector, public sector, education, governmental institution here, we can work towards a collective effort on addressing issues. And that's one of the things that I value myself at. I'm very good at building coalitions to address issues, whether it's with the pandemic, with childcare, providing transportation for our elderly and individuals with disabilities, our veterans, etc. It's all about building coalition and working with each other to address the issues that matters most.
Isabella mentioned how you are running for these other offices as well, and they're all different. You have the school board, which involves the DC Everest School District. You have the county board, which involves your district within the county, and then you have this statewide campaign. If I'm mistaken, because you're such a busy, I always talk to you about the many hats that you wear. This is your first run for statewide office, correct?
It is. Mhm.
Okay, what is your game plan? Because that is a different animal in terms
Yes.
of an election. What is your idea of the best way to campaign to make sure? Because I imagine one of the big things that you have to do is, while you are, I think, well known here in the central Wisconsin area, you're probably not as well known in other areas of the state. What's your game plan in terms of trying to get your message out to the entire state?
Well, thank you, Chad. And that's an incredible question here, and it's a great question. What I would say is one of the things I value is the ability to travel across the state to talk with individuals. Even with my job right now as a nonprofit executive, I'm traveling to meet with other organizations, having conversations with them about challenges that they're experiencing. So, traveling is not something different from me. Going to other places like Milwaukee, Madison, or even going to Vilas County or even Hayward. Of just having conversations with individuals so that so I can understand the challenges that they have. One of the things I'm going to be focusing on is actually obviously hosting listening sessions throughout the state of Wisconsin in areas that often are not visited, but also having meaningful conversations, whether it's about education, whether it's about businesses, retention of talent, or even working with the addressing the affordability crisis, such as housing, childcare, etc. I'm planning to go across the state of Wisconsin here to have conversations with individuals to learn about the challenges they need, and I think that's what we need more than ever from our elected officials, is being out there and having those conversations with individuals. It may not be door to door like I did for the 85th Assembly, but I can definitely tell you I'll be all across the state.
And earlier you mentioned this concept of financial literacy. And with the affordability crisis going on right now, people are wanting to be smarter with their money. Tell me a little bit about what that means and what you would do to kind of increase it in the state.
Yeah, that's an incredible question here. And one of the things I would do is work with the Department of Public Instruction, along with the Department of Financial Institution, to expand the program that they have. I'm not a big fan of duplicating or creating the new wheel, but I am a big fan of working with partners to establish, and expand their programs to other partners by reaching out to individuals or programs or organizations that are working on this, right? And be able to further provide them resources, connect them, create a coalition where they can work together together to expand it. And because of that, that's one of the due to my effort also building the teaching financial literacy in our local communities here and working with partners to teach students, that has allowed me to be that's why the governor has appointed me to sit on the Governance Council on Financial Literacy.
Let me ask you about some of the other jobs you're having, because I saw a story just yesterday concerning the Wausau School District and its enrollment continuing to go down. I wanted to ask you, as put on your other hat here with your
Sure.
member of the DC Ever School Board, how is the enrollment at DCE? And I want to maybe, because again, 2026 is such a big year. We have your races, we have a gubernatorial race. There's a lot going on, and I think in terms of some of the issues that we're going to be hearing about, and one of those, of course, and we've been talking to some of the candidates for governor, talking about some of the educational aspects. How are things again at DCE? What are some of the issues that you, as a school board member, are hoping are discussed here in 2026? And frankly, again, within, do you see a role for yourself? Maybe again, this may be a silly quote, but I recall reading a book about Lyndon Johnson. He would say, power is where power goes.
Yes.
And that you can actually have an impact maybe in ways that you would not think of within roles in government. I know there's a lot there, but let's start off with, how are things at DC Everest in terms of enrollment and also some of the issues involved in the schools? And then maybe along that line, would you be able, in your new role, if you are become the state treasurer, able to help in maybe some of those areas that maybe, again, is a little bit outside the normal thought process of that role?
Yeah. So to answer your question, how is enrollment, right? I think all school districts across the state here are struggling with enrollment. And but one thing I do value the most about our school district is that we have very, very strong and very dedicated faculties and staff who has been very committed to ensuring the well-being of our students. And they've always put our students' best interests at the front. Now, the biggest challenge I see for our school district is obviously retaining and attracting good teachers and good quality teachers as well, because we have an incredible group of faculty that are there, and we want to make sure that we're investing in the future of America, the future of Wisconsin, the future of the DC Everett School District, and that's our students here. So, going to your next question in regards to what can the state treasurer do to impact this? One of the things that we've been seeing is that school district has been kind of going through a facilities studies, looking at our facility to make sure that we're maximizing efficiency, making sure that the impact, or whether our building is impactful or being used appropriately. The state treasurer position has direct impact in the role of being on the board of Commission on Public Land Trust, where it manages over $1.4 billion. It oversees and be able to allocate the loans or funding towards school and local and municipalities here to help them with projects like that. And that's one of the things that makes me the most ideal candidate for this position here, is because of the fact that I've been on the county board, on the school board, on the village board. So I understand the challenges that each of these municipalities faces, whether it's with facilities, with levy limits, restricted for revenue, etc., and being able to work with these governmental organizations or institutions here to address the issues that we need.
Something I want to ask you about after we take a quick time out is the idea of a lot of these different governmental agencies working together and trying to make things better, because sometimes I think there is a disconnect in a lot of different ways. I want to pick your brain a little bit on that in the few minutes we have at the end of the hour. So we're going to come back, talk more with Li Langzhong, who is a candidate for the state treasurer position in the state of Wisconsin in 2026. Along with Isabella Nieto, along with Ian Welsh, I am Chad Holmes. It is the Chad Holmes Show, 98.9 WXCO. And welcome back, Chad Holmes Show, 98.9 WXCO, and online. Time is 8:52 here on this Tuesday morning. We are talking to a state treasurer candidate, Yi Leng Zhang. We're talking off the air, and of course, a lot of folks know you now in your position as the executive director for New Beginnings for Refugees. I guess I would like to ask, because it hasn't been that long. Time has no meaning at times these days. It seems like they go so fast. How long have you been in the position now?
Yeah, since April, and I feel like it's been years, but I know it's only been since April.
How is it going, and in terms of the processes over there? Because obviously, this has been a very, I think, trying time for a lot of folks in the refugee community as well.
Yeah, it's one of the things I would have to say, that despite the fact that it's been challenging for our new neighbors as well, one thing I have to say is that our Wisconsinites and our folks in our community here has definitely risen to the call of action. They've rose to provide services, provide rides, continue to tutor, and doing home visits to our new neighbors. And we need that more than ever. We need people to realize that these are new neighbors. They're here. They're contributing to our community. They're working in our grocery stores, or they're working in our factories, and they're making our community a great place to live.
A question, and I'll get back to Isabella here in a moment, but sort of a general question for you, because you're somebody who has been involved in so many different areas, and I think when we look at governmental folks or leaders or followers, whatever you want to call them, there are some that want to come in here and just get their hands dirty and do a lot of work, and others, I think, just enjoy being part of the club and be part of the system. I've never got the sense that's with you. And I was saying to you off the air that in this year of 2026, with so much happening, there's so much noise out there, but at the same time, I think there can also be opportunity. Do you sense that for leaders, for people like yourself that want to get things done, that there are opportunities right now to get significant issues accomplished, because there's so many out there? But at the same time, I said to you as well that often in this country we wait until the last possible moment to actually fix things, because there is, I think, a resistance to change in a lot of ways.
Yeah, so I've been in nonprofit my entire life, and even the local government here. One of the things I value is I'm a person who likes to plan in advance, right? I don't like to wait until something happens and then do it. Even when I go on vacation, I like to plan every single minute of the day here, what I'm going to do, what time we're going to get there, etc. Because I don't like guessing. I can be ready to and be flexible enough to pivot and address those issues, but I also don't like to guess what I'm going to be doing, because I don't like to waste time. That's just me as a person. So with the current challenges that I think we're facing as a country, as a state, as a community, it gives us an opportunity to reevaluate the challenges that we have currently in front of us and be able to come up with new solutions to address them. Because as I was saying earlier during our break here, I was at the educational convention that happened this week here in Milwaukee, and we know for sure that right now what we're doing, funding for our state education, for our programs, for our students, and just looking at what's happening across the state here, and even the country here, what we're doing funding for our education, our healthcare, our workers, it is not working. We need to reevaluate what we're doing here and making sure that we're providing some creative thinking. Because as a nonprofit executive, if you know that you're not receiving funding or something's not working, you have to pivot and look at other ways here to address that issues as well. And that's one thing I value nonprofit executives or nonprofit workers, is you have to be creative to ensure that every penny lasts as long as possible.
Isabella?
You've mentioned your time as, in nonprofit has made you kind of a frugal person. But, as you're talking with people around the state, they might be concerned about, we need local projects funded. We need roads fixed. We need funding for our local programs. How are you going to kind of balance, making sure that the state is spending its money responsibly, but also addressing concerns of your constituents?
Great question. I'm frugal, but I'm not cheap. I want to be honest with that. I want to start, and I think that frugality mindset comes from the fact that I'm a child of refugee. So my parents have always taught us that we needed to be ensured to ensure that whatever we're doing, it needs to last as long as possible here. So, if we need to fix roads so that way we can get firefighters to go to or paramedics to a household, we need to invest in that. If we need to invest a little more so that our teachers are able to teach our students here, we need to do that. I look at the return of investments, and that's one of the reasons why I sit on organizations like foundation boards, where you want to make sure that what you're contributing to the community here will have significant impact on progressing our communities. And that's why, as a nonprofit executive, although I am frugal, I also also want to make sure that we're seeing a return on investments that's delivering results, that's having a significant impact on our community. So that's how I would be able to balance.
For folks that want to find out more information about your campaign, especially for treasurer, find out some of the issues that you're focused on, is there a good way to find that information?
They can follow me on Facebook at Ye for We, which we is in Wisconsin, WI, or go to my website, ye4wi.vote. Once again, ye4wi.vote.
How exciting a time is this?
It's extremely exciting. I see a lot of potential coming up in the future here. I see a lot of ability to make, to make progress, and I'm just excited.
And I guess one final question, sort of along that line. I know there's a lot of concern in our communities throughout the country. Are you optimistic about the future for the state and the country?
I'm always optimistic. We have to look at the light at the end of the tunnel and work together towards addressing it. Because, overall, I'm going to say this, despite the fact that we may disagree with each other, all of us are Americans. We want the best for this country. And I think sometimes we forget about that. And I always see the good in every person. That's my mentorship from, background when we're working with people. So I'm excited and optimistic of the future for this country.
I hope we can get you back to talk about these issues. And also I want to talk a little bit about the county board, because sometimes I think we kind of focus not enough on the county board. So I want to find out what your thoughts are, where we are in Marathon County and in the future as well. So as you travel the state, best of luck, Yi.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yi Lengzhang, a candidate for the state treasurer, also DC Everett School Board member, Marathon County Board as well. Don't forget, tomorrow morning, we will be joined at 8:06 by Katie Rosenberg, the former Wausau mayor and a candidate for the Marathon County Board. She'll be with us at 8:06 live in the studio. We are done here for hour number 1, but we have another hour, but you have to tune in online because we're strictly online for hour number 2. Go to youtube.com and our 98.9 WXCO channel, WXCO.FM, and the Civic Media app. Go to our stream, that's the Sports 2 stream, and we have another hour to come. Glad you could be with us. It's almost 9 o'clock. Chad Holmes Show, 98.9 WXCO.
The wind is taking me everywhere. Yeah. Can you feel it? All I need is a TV show, that and the radio. Down on my luck again, down on my luck again. I can show you some of the people in my life. I can show you some of the people in my life. It's driving me mad. Just another way of passing the day.
Good morning. The time is 9:07. Currently 1 degree above zero here in downtown Wausau. Wind chill factor of 16 below. Continues to be very chilly, but we're glad you can join us. Try to warm up just a little bit. Hour number 2 of the Chad Holmes Show, 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. And I should say again, I get all confused. That is hour number 1. That's exactly where you can get the show in hour number 1. Here in hour number 2, it's our online show. We got all the flexibility in the world here because unlike hour number 1, I was saying about the hard breaks, we don't have hard breaks here in hour number 2. We can take the breaks when we feel like taking the breaks. And we also have plenty of time to talk to you about the issues going on. You can respond to our conversations in the first hour with State Attorney General Josh Call, and then, of course, with Yi Langzhong, candidate for State Treasurer, member of the D.C. Everett School Board, and also a member of the Marathon County Board as well. 715-814-9330. That's 715-814-9330. It's important to us that we allow you to let your voice be heard. There's so many important issues going on around the area, around the state, around the country, around the world. And we look to be an opportunity for you to join in on the conversation. Again, at 715-814-9330. Mentioned at the very end of the last hour that tomorrow we're very excited to welcome into studio former Wausau Mayor, candidate for the Marathon County Board in 2026, Katie Rosenberg. She'll be with us in studio right at the top of the show at 8:06 tomorrow morning. Hopefully you can join us then, again, the first hour on 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, Civic Media app, and of course on YouTube as well, youtube.com. Did not have much time in the first hour. It was all very tight in the first hour, so never had a real opportunity to give a proper good morning and a proper hello to our in-studio engineer, Ian Welsh. Ian, good morning.
Good morning, Chad.
Yeah, it was a very jam-packed first hour of the show. No space to throw the elbows out there at all, but
it was very busy.
It was wonderful to have the opportunity. In fact, the interview with Attorney General Call, when we left the air yesterday, had no idea we're going to have that this morning because it was not until just after I went off the air yesterday, received a message that the Attorney General was in town. He was available to stop on by early in the afternoon for a discussion. And I said, hey, that would be terrific. So we were able to talk to him yesterday afternoon, record it up, and then bring it to you early this morning. And we already had scheduled Yi Langzhong to join us as well. So jam-packed with interesting guests, and we always like it when they're able to come here into studio. The conversations, I think, are much better when we're able to sit across the table from each other, have the opportunity to speak about some of these issues. And one of the things I like folks to know that there are some politicians out there. I would say that one of the most significant out there in the state of Wisconsin is Ron Johnson, that like when they come onto a radio program, to know exactly what the questions are, to give you the topics of conversation and go from there. I would say for the most part, I can't remember really the last time that anybody said, well, what are you going to ask about? Can you send me the questions? Josh Call came in here. We sat across. He did not know what the questions were going to be for myself or Isabella.
That's
Same
right.
thing with Yi Lang Zhang. One of the best things when we had the conversations monthly when she was mayor of Wausau with Katie Rosenberg, she would come in and say, whatever's on your mind. Doesn't matter. It can be something that is a controversy at the time. It could be something else that's, on your mind or whatever it is. She's open to answering all the questions. And you always like to see that from our elected officials, that they don't want to have scripted questions. They don't want to have scripted responses ready at the elbow. And I think that we get more out of those conversations. One thing before I get back to you, I want to mention, because I think for folks that, one of the things that I actually was hoping to discuss with Attorney General Josh Call was the Dropbox investigation. I know a lot of people are very interested on where the Department of Justice investigation into the Dropbox. And of course, it's been now over a year and a quarter or so, I think, since Mayor Denny, Mayor Denny got on his costume, put on the hard hat, brought out the dolly, and hauled away the Dropbox.
Yep.
And before we went on the air, I wanted to make sure that it was something that I did not know if he would be able to talk about it, because the Department of Justice has, and it's a very interesting scenario, because the Marathon County District Attorney asked for a special prosecutor, a special investigator to be assigned to this case. And the person that was assigned to the case last year was Eric Toney. And Eric Toney is a district attorney in the eastern part of the state. He was the Republican nominee for Attorney General in the 2022 election against the current incumbent, Josh Call. And he is now running again for Attorney General in 2026, Eric Toney. And I had not heard anything for months. I was searching what's going on with this. So I wanted to basically, if I could, ask the Attorney General what was going on. And I asked him beforehand. I said, is that something you can talk about? He said, no, it's an ongoing investigation. We cannot discuss it. So I did not bring it up. So again,
at least you asked.
For the folks, I wanted to ask about it. I asked him about it, but he was not able to talk about a ongoing investigation. But again, it still brings up the idea. I don't understand this idea of Eric Toney being the investigator, who is somebody who, when he ran for this office in 2022, said that he does not think Dropboxes are legal. He's on the record on this. How do you investigate a man who hauled away a Dropbox because he thought they were illegal? So again, I guess I'm hoping that eventually we'll have some results on this investigation, but it just seems to be dragging. And now he's running for Attorney General at the same time as he's supposedly supposed to be investigating the Dropbox issue when it comes to Mayor Doug Denny. So again, I just wanted people to know that, I did not forget to ask the Attorney General about it, but he was unable to discuss it, as it's being an ongoing investigation that's being led by Eric Toney right now. And it does lead to a very, I think, awkward situation when the Attorney General is running against this district attorney who is now a special counsel involved in the Doug Denny Dropbox situation.
That's right.
Sometimes truth is stranger than fiction. How are you? I know that last night you had your first rehearsal for the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, which will be performed at the Venega Theater at the University of Wisconsin Stevens Point at Wausau campus. You had the read-through last night, right?
Yep. Last night was the first official read-through, and we had a lot of fun with it. It was great to get to know the cast a little bit better, have a better understanding for, how the rehearsals are going to go and what the stage is going to look like. And, just the read-through was actually pretty nice because it's not a long show. The show itself is only about 90 minutes. So, but there is a lot of room for improvisation and being spontaneous. And I like that kind of acting. So
let me ask you.
I'm looking forward to that.
No, let me ask you something here, because when you say that,
when
you say improvisation, that doesn't mean you change the lines, does it?
No, it doesn't mean you change the lines. It means you have, there's actually places in the actual script itself for improvisation that you're supposed to, kind of create your own lines as long as it falls within a script itself.
As long as
We have to
it's
stick to the script, but
okay.
there is room for improvisation when the moment calls for it.
Okay, because I am a true believer that when you do, I mean, every actor, and you know this as well. I mean, you
Yeah.
count on cues, you count on. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's
Yes.
certain aspects of performing that are improvisation, but there are
Absolutely.
also when you have a script, you can't be just throwing your cues away and basically hanging you can make you look wonderful. Oh, what a wonderful line, how funny was that? But then your partners on stage to have no
Yeah.
idea what's going on and when to jump in. So it's a thin line, but I tend to think of an author writes a play, and it's not up to a actor to change the lines. And and I
Well,
know
those
that
cue lines are very important for the other actors, because if a certain line has to be said to cue up the next line and you don't say that line, you're absolutely right. It can throw everybody off. So
it's the first stage of the process here, because I mean it's really
it'll be about finding that balance between following the script and adding a little improvisation, as long as it doesn't pull focus.
There's no balance, though, Ian. I'm trying to say this. You can't balance off the script. The script is the script. I mean that.
Well, you have to see the show for
I
yourself.
guess
and see what
so. I
happens.
guess so. So in the script, so the person that wrote this play put in the script improvisation time. Say whatever you want to say. I'm
Well, I
curious
don't want
here,
to spoil too much.
but no, I'm
but
just talking
no.
about what it says in the script itself.
There are,
because you get a script.
well, actually, in the script itself that we got at last night's rehearsal, in the very back of the book, there's an appendix
Okay.
that has all these lines that you can say at certain points in the show that still follows the line of the show, but allows for a little more creativity.
I see.
It's still in the show, but it kind of you kind of have to use your imagination on that one.
I'm gonna have to come and see this because I am intrigued here, because
I think you will be very intrigued indeed.
I just I feel it's like I'm a big supporter of the artist, and I mean artists, whether it's on stage, but also the people that write the scripts, and I think there are some people who think that they're smarter than the author in some of the shows that we've seen over the years.
Yeah,
and no, that doesn't work. That you got to stick.
I have done that in the past, and I have made mistakes, and I am working better to try to stay within those lines and only improvise like when the situation calls for it, because you don't want to pull focus from other characters in an important scene, or you don't want to like completely change the line itself and throw everybody off. So I look forward to you seeing the show,
I shake my head here, because I don't think that
you're watching on the YouTube. He's shaking his head.
I think the script is almost holy. You don't change the script. I mean,
it's like the Bible of theater.
You have to work the script again. Your facial expressions, your movements on the stage, those are the areas that are unique to an actor or performer. The way that you say the lines, but changing lines, I just think is a complete no. So I guess we can argue about.
I do see what you're saying, though.
No, it's like I think that obviously, and that'd be actually an interesting conversation with folks that work in the theater, just to see people how they look at things like that. I'm curious to hear
when
that
we get some cast members on the show, we'll have to talk to them about
because this
that.
sounds like a different kind of show. I mean, because I think maybe I don't understand something about it, because it sounds as though that this improvisational aspect is part of this general the idea of the show that was put together by the person that wrote it. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, I believe that would be fair to say.
Okay, I'm gonna dig into this. I'm gonna find out, because my interest has been piqued on this. So,
hey, do some research on the show.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna research it. I'm gonna see what the history of this show is, and be ready when I get into my seat. It
did win
March.
the Tony Awards for best musical as well as best book.
Wow. Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah. So obviously it's something that definitely is very well received. So again, that is coming up at the towards the end of March, when we will continue to be updated as Ian continues his process as well. Real quick, I want to remind folks that tonight we have a pair of broadcasts in high school sports here on 98.9 WXCO. I will be at the Marathon Park Ice Arena as the Wausau West hockey team will take on East Merrill United. It is the Coleman Cup game. Every year when West and East would get together in hockey, it would be the fight for the Coleman Cup. And now East Merrill United being the co-op. So the Coleman Cup is played between West and EMU. I'll be on the air from the Marathon Park Ice Arena, starting with the pregame show at 6:35 and the opening face-off at 7 o'clock on 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Tom Weaver, meantime, will be at the Newman Catholic High School gym. The Newman Cardinal boys basketball team will take on Marathon. You'll be able to hear that game live on the Sports 2 stream of WXCO.FM and on the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 7. And that game will also be heard on a tape delay basis following hockey on 98.9 WXCO. So all that coming up tonight. And why do we do it? Why do we bother having two high school sports broadcasts tonight when other radio stations don't do any?
It's because we are very, very proud to be the only local Wausau radio station that covers play-by-play action of high school sports.
Absolutely.
And we're going to keep saying that as long as we can.
Yep, absolutely. Coming up, Tom Tiffany.
Oh,
Tom Tiffany yesterday held a press conference. And I would say you won't believe what he said, but I do think you'll believe what he said, because it's a trick that's been used by the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. And of course, Tom Tiffany is a member of the House of Representatives right now running for governor, but he's learning the lessons from his buddy, Mike Johnson, in the House. We're going to talk about what Tom Tiffany said at his press conference coming up next.
Oh, boy.
And again, you can join us. You can give us your thoughts. 715-814-9330. That's 715-814-9330. With Ian Welsh, I am Chad Holmes. It is the Chad Holmes Show, live on the Sports 2 stream of WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app, and also available on YouTube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. I'm Chad Holmes, joined former Wausau West head hockey coach B.J. Brandt and myself every Wednesday night from 6 till 8 p.m. for the Big High School Sports Show on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO on the Civic Media app, and also broadcasting live on the 98.9 WXCO YouTube channel. Each week, we'll be talking high school winter sports. We'll review and preview the basketball and hockey action with both the boys and the girls, and each week we'll also be joined by an area head coach and a student athlete guest as well. It's the Big High School Sports Show every Wednesday night from 6 till 8 p.m. on Central Wisconsin's radio home for high school sports, 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO on the Civic Media app, and broadcasting live on YouTube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. On Tuesday night, the Wausau West Warrior High School hockey team will play host to East Merrill United. Hear all the exciting action live on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 6:35 and the opening face-off at 7 p.m. Wausau West Hockey on 98.9 WXCO is brought to you by Sun Printing, the Wausau West Athletic Department, Cloverbelt Credit Union, sponsor of the Cloverbelt Credit Union broadcast booth, Rocket Industrial, and the Wausau Business Show, the Wausau Cyclones, the Wausau West Hockey Booster Club, Four Seasons Golf of Wausau, Mike Whitmore Construction, and Operating Engineers Local 139, our ultimate sports sponsor. It's Wausau West Hockey against East Merrill United, Tuesday night, starting with pregame show at 6:35 on 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app.
Local radio thrives when it serves the community. WXCO is no different, and we're looking to add someone to our staff that is well connected around town. Someone who can help our local businesses increase traffic and their visibility among our audience. From connecting clients with high school sports, local news and weather, or the Chad Holmes Show. If you know local business owners, we'd like to get to know you. If you'd like to know more about this opportunity, send me, Chad Holmes, a message at chad.holmes@civicmedia.us. That's chad.holmes@civicmedia.us. And let's set up a time to talk.
You can't always get it at all. Just because there's space in your life, it's a waste to spend your time. Why don't you wait for the call? Just gotta get used to it. We all get it in the end. Just gotta get used to it. We go down and we come up again. Just gotta get used to it. You irritate me, my friend. This is no social crisis. This is you having fun.
And welcome back. It is the Chad Holmes Show. Hour number 2, of course, live on youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. Also on the Sports 2 stream of WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app. And again, hour number 1, of course, each weekday from 8 till 9, we have on 98.9 WXCO and online as well, and on YouTube. And if you want to put it all together, and if you are not available in the morning, maybe you're working or most of the time, or just for whatever reason can't be with us completely from 8 till 10 a.m., we put up our show as a podcast. Once we get past 10 o'clock, we upload it, and then it gets up as a podcast. You can get it on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts by subscribing to WXCO News. You can go to WXCO.FM, click on the shows or the on air, and of course at civicmedia.us under the shows as well. Then highlight WXCO, go to WXCO News, and be able to get the show there as well. So again, plenty of different ways to keep up with us and hopefully be able to be with us live every morning between 8 and 10 a.m. because we'd love to hear from you. Again, our phone lines are open at 715-814-9330. That's 715-814-9330 to join us here. And again, if you call, you'll hear the friendly voice of Ian Welsh at the other end, and then he'll hook you in, and we'll be able to talk about things we're talking about or even things we're not talking about. If there's an issue that is on your mind that we are not talking of that you think is important, we would love to hear from you as well. But Ian, I wanted to talk about a story that I caught yesterday about Tom Tiffany. And of course, Tom Tiffany is running for the governorship of Wisconsin. Lots of people running for the governorship of Wisconsin in 2026. We have an open seat as Tony Evers is retiring at the conclusion of his second term in office. We have upwards of 9 when it comes to Democrats and 3 when it comes to Republicans who are running for office. But yesterday, Tom Tiffany in the southern part of the state was holding a press conference. And one of the questions, of course, over the weekend, the huge news was in Minneapolis and the tragedy that occurred on Saturday. And basically, I think most folks that don't even follow news that closely saw what happened on Saturday, where an innocent man was trying to help a neighbor and ended up dead at the hands of ICE. You would think that somebody in government, a current member of Congress, a man that wants to be governor of the state of Wisconsin, would know about the shooting of Alex Preddy, a man that actually went to school in Green Bay. He was a graduate of Green Bay Preble High School, a Wisconsinite.
He was also a friend of one of my other theater friends, as I found out last night, actually. So that
Oh,
was
really?
even more sad.
So again, connections all over.
And she knew him well.
What did she say about him? I'm curious, just real quickly. Did she say he was a good guy?
Well, I think they actually went together at that Green Bay High School.
Oh, really? Oh, geez.
Yeah. And just, it was incredibly sad. I read her post last night after I got home from rehearsal, and just, she's devastated.
But that was the story this weekend. But Tom Tiffany held a news conference in Madison yesterday.
What did he say?
And he was asked about the shooting and about the issue. And what he said was he has not seen any of the videos showing Alex Preddy shot and killed by a Border Patrol agent in Minneapolis. He hasn't seen them. Well, what were you doing this weekend then, Tom Tiffany? I mean, ignorance is not a defense in this case.
No,
and the
it is
reason
not.
that I said earlier that he's learning from his speaker, Mike Johnson, is so often Donald Trump would say or do something outrageous. And the Washington media would ask Mike Johnson, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? And it became a running joke that Mike Johnson would say, well, I haven't seen it. I haven't heard it. I don't know anything about it. Like, that's an excuse.
That's pathetic.
Tiffany said, and again, he's trying to have it both ways here. Tiffany says, I support the state of Minnesota investigating, but they should do it with the federal government. Let's get all the facts on the table to make sure to make a reasoned decision in what as a very chaotic time, whatever that means.
Jeez.
And then a reporter asked Tiffany if he'd seen any of the video of the shooting. He said he has not. And then he says, oftentimes the videos are grainy. I reserve the judgment until professionals review this thoroughly and have a chance to do a full investigation.
Professionals?
In response, Democratic candidate for Governor Mandela Barnes took to X writing, quote, you haven't watched the video yet, ? Let me sum it up for you, Tom Tiffany. Trump's ICE needlessly killed a U.S. citizen without justification, end quote. So again, ignorance is not a defense here.
No.
And that's the opposite of leadership. In this time, we need leadership. And you can be a leader standing for ICE. It doesn't mean you're right. I mean, it means you're wrong, I would say. But if Tom Tiffany said, yeah, I saw it and I still stand with ICE, fine. At least he's standing on some ground, but saying, I didn't see the video. I mean, give me a break. I mean, I'm so tired of that idea. Oh, I didn't see the comment. I didn't hear about the comment. I didn't see the video. I mean, give me a break. Again, that's the kind of leader Tom Tiffany is.
So he's trying to have it both ways. So he's trying to be the middleman here.
Basically, he's not trying to support ICE here, but he also doesn't want to say, what happened. Because if he saw the video, then he would see what happened, which was an armed man shot 10 times and killed in the streets of Minneapolis. So again, that's not a good answer.
No, it's a terrible response.
So again, Tom Tiffany, I would just be shocked that Tom Tiffany would translate throughout the state of Wisconsin. I understand that lots of folks in red areas and rural areas like Tom Tiffany, but I have no idea really why he's running for governor. When we've talked to gubernatorial candidates, they've given us a lot of different subjects that they feel are important.
Yeah.
Tom Tiffany doesn't come across as really wanting to do much of anything except be governor. And it's going to be, I think, a very interesting campaign to see him try to articulate the reasons why he wants to be governor, because I haven't seen it quite yet. And hopefully he'll come on the program and maybe he'll tell us.
Yeah.
Because that's our hope, that we want to have everybody come on the program. So we will wait and see. We need to take a time out. Coming up later in the hour, we'll wrap things up with our daily history lesson. Included will be our number for the day quiz. We always give Ian Welsh an opportunity at the end of the show to take a quiz based on a number of the day, which is based on something happening either in the news or based on this day in history or something along those lines. So that's still to come. But coming up next, we're going to loosen it up a little bit, talk a little bit about what's going on in sports, and give you an update on some of the action around the area and around the state as well. With Ian Welsh, I am Chad Holmes, Chad Holmes Show, live on the Sports 2 stream with WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app, and on YouTube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel.
I'm looking at them. I think they think I must be out of touch, but I'm only in the outskirts and in the fringes.
For WXCO News, I'm Isabella Nieto. Democratic candidate for governor and state representative Francesca Hong says her campaign is powered by and for the community.
When a candidate takes corporate PAC money, APAC money, they are beholden to those large donors and not so much the everyday person. We're really proud to have over 7,400 individual donations, and I think that makes us even more beholden to the people and not the corporations.
That's Hong in an appearance on the WXCO Morning Show on Monday. Her campaign message emphasizes grassroots organizing and small donors. She's also active on social media.
As much as I would like to be everywhere doing everything, sometimes meeting voters where they are where they are in terms of the digital spaces as well. And so we've invested heavily in digital, including social media, making sure that we have a YouTube presence.
Hong says she aims to make government accessible.
These are also where folks are having important conversations and want to know more about their elected officials. So we've really chosen to make sure that we're communicating clearly what our campaign's about on these digital platforms.
Hong wants to create permanent affordability by increasing wages, expanding Badger Care, and public school funding. She says including these policies in the state budget sets expectations.
So regardless the makeup of the legislature, it's the responsibility of the governor to make sure that there is a clear agenda on what we want to accomplish, to make sure that every Wisconsinites have what they need to have a good quality of life and a life that they can live with dignity.
Hong represents the 76th Assembly District, which includes downtown and the east side of Madison. She is one of several Democrats vying for the state's top seat and identifies herself as a Democratic socialist. I'm Isabella Nieto for WXCO News.
So, how are the kids?
Well, Emily made the honor roll.
Oh, good for her.
Yeah, we're really proud of her. Tyler, on the other hand, though,
What's going on?
he's been moody lately, just feeling down and not like himself.
Oh, we've been there. Nick was struggling last spring. He was so anxious and stressed.
Really? What helped?
Well, he joined the soccer team. And ever since, he's been a lot happier. He has more energy, he's less stressed, and he's definitely in a better mood at home. It's made a huge difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad he's getting out of the house, he's getting some exercise, and he's off his phone for once. It's been good for his mental health.
Sounds like it's been good for your mental health, too.
Participating in Wisconsin high school sports improves students' physical and mental health. Encourage your son or daughter to get involved. This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Chad Holmes Show on the 98.9 WXCO YouTube channel. Also on the Sports 2 stream of WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app. I almost changed my mind in terms of what I want to talk about here. But what I am gonna talk about what I almost want to talk about now because I want more time to talk about this.
First, can I mention that we actually got a comment from someone?
Real quickly. All right. What's the comment?
Yeah, it's from Summer Collins 84, and they say, "What is the weather in Texas? Should folks be traveling?" That's a very good question because that Arctic cold front has definitely been affecting a lot of the country, and Texas is definitely being affected by it. I don't have it off the top of my head right now. I'm sure we can find out for you.
Well, I know that the extreme cold warning continues in parts of Dallas and Fort Worth. Winter storm. I'm looking at some of the headlines here. It says just 2 hours ago from WFAA, looking at the winter storm through your eyes, North Texas. They were getting lots of snow. When will Houston, Southeast Texas start to thaw out from the freeze? So again, Texas power grid remains stable, which is good during the course of the storm. So again, there's a lot going on. Wintry precipitation is exiting Texas, but it's still very much issues going on down in Texas as well. A lot of the country's been going through a lot of very difficult weather.
Well, thank you for sending your comment in.
But I'm gonna talk about what happened in high school sports last night, but I want folks to know that tomorrow I am going to respond to Chris Conley because
he did post something after the weekend.
Oh yeah, he blames not ICE for the death on Saturday. He blames the victim. And while there are even some conservatives right now are calling on Trump to rethink his plan of action in Minneapolis, Conley is not one of those. He has a commentary today talking about, it's titled, "No Retreat, the Mob Cannot Be Allowed to Win." So he wants to continue this occupation in Minneapolis.
Unbelievable.
And there are some Republicans who are saying this is not working. But according to Conley, again, we should not be lifting our voices for a wrong. But tomorrow during the second hour of the show, tomorrow we have in the first hour, Katie Rosenberg.
Mm-hmm.
In the second hour, I'm going to give a rebuttal to Mr. Conley, who is talking to the people here in central Wisconsin.
Yeah.
He is talking to the people, trying to influence their thoughts when it comes to what is happening in Minneapolis and what happens generally. And it shows just how far out of the mainstream that Mr. Conley is.
Yeah.
That even conservatives are seeing what is happening in Minneapolis. Even Fox News backed away yesterday, but not
Just a
Mr.
little
Conley.
bit. Yeah.
He is still going all out. And basically, he is saying that if they continue to protest, he's fine with having outcomes like we saw on the weekend. Because they're the ones that they're at fault. So, again, we're going to talk about this tomorrow morning in the second hour. So I just want to preview that, and we will talk more about that coming up. So just mark your calendar. Make sure you're with us tomorrow morning because we're gonna delve into that because I'd like to talk about the battle of ideas, and we're gonna have the battle of ideas tomorrow. I'm gonna battle his ideas here and give my thoughts based on what he is telling his listeners because I just think it's wrong. And I think that the folks here in Central I think the people here in Central Wisconsin deserve to hear both sides here of this debate, not just the debate from the radio station down the street. All right. Well, last night here on 98.9 WXCO, we had high school girls basketball. Wausau West fell to Wisconsin Rapids by a score of 62-24. DC Everest had a good non-conference win last night. Evergreens knocked off Assumption by a score of 47-39. Rather significant W for DC Everest.
Way to go, DCE.
Also last night, the Marathon girls basketball team continues their winning ways. They rolled past Edgar by a score of 69-44. Merrill last night lost to Florence by a score of 50-43. Also, Athens was victorious, knocking off Shawamigan by a score of 81-55. And Northern Lutheran lost to Loyal 61-16. Boys high school basketball, not a lot of action in the area. Athens fell in a high-scoring affair to Colby, 83-81. Wittenberg-Burnhamwood defeated Antigo by a score of 73-48. In a non-conference game, Wisconsin Rapids beat Lakeland by a score of 66-49. Tomahawk lost to Rhinelander 90-25 as well last evening. Mentioned earlier, we have a pair of games right here on 98.9 WXCO tonight. I'll be at the Marathon Park Ice Arena as the EMU Blue Jacks will take on the Wausau West Warriors. Battle for the Coleman Cup. Warriors hosting the Blue Jacks. 6:35 for the pregame, 7 o'clock for the opening face-off right here on 98.9 WXCO. WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Tom Weaver will be over at the Newman Catholic High School gym as the Cardinal boys basketball team will host Marathon. That game can be heard on the Sports 2 stream of WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 7 o'clock. And then that game will also air on a tape delay basis following our coverage of Wausau West hockey on 98.9 WXCO. So again, a couple of games going on this evening in high school sports, live on either 98.9 WXCO or on the Sports 2 stream of WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app. I have to admit, I'm kind of depressed after reading Conley's comments because it saddens me. It saddens me that somebody could see what happened Saturday, and this is the takeaway, that the mob cannot win.
He's obviously living in a different world from the one that we're living in.
The mob cannot win.
And the fact that he calls them a mob basically suggests that they were like, they had pitchforks and torches and they were angry and they were ready to go to war with ICE. And that's not the case.
No, they're protesting what they think is a major wrong in their community.
I've seen the photo. I've seen the video. This man had his hand up like this. He didn't have a gun. He was just trying. He was just trying to help.
Helping a fellow person who had fallen down.
He's just trying to help someone. And just the fact that, Tom Tiffany said, and I didn't watch the video. Well, it's like, is that it? Or do you just not care to watch the video because you're afraid of how it'll make you look like?
I just wonder if he really didn't watch the video.
Yeah.
I really wonder.
He probably watched it and he doesn't even care.
But we know Chris Conley watched the video. And he wants Trump and the administration to keep on keeping on when it comes to ICE in the city of Minneapolis, Minnesota. He's okay with the military occupation of that community. And we're going to talk plenty about it tomorrow in the second hour of the program. So again, it's sad. It actually makes me sad more than angry right now that we have a voice within our community that is listened to by a many number of people. Kudos to you, Mr. Conley. Mr. Conley and his high ratings. And it's sad that you're using that voice in this way. And again, it saddens me to say the least. So
it does.
All right. Well, the time is 9:49. Weather-wise, it is a chilly start here in north central Wisconsin. We continue to barely above zero, which is better than what we had for much of the weekend. But what is the temperature right now? It is 2 degrees above zero with a wind chill factor of 15 below. It is going to continue to be chilly throughout the course of the week. Partly sunny and cold today, a high of 6. Tonight, partly cloudy, a low of 9 below zero. Wednesday, mostly sunny and cold, a high near 6. Thursday, mostly sunny and cold, a high near 8. Friday, mostly sunny and a high of 12. Saturday, 21. Ooh, almost
Getting better.
getting closer to normal. So again, bundle up if you have any travel plans here today and throughout the rest of the week. We'll have our daily history lesson coming up and our number for the day quiz to wrap things up as well. Chad Holmes Show, 98.9 WXCO. On Tuesday night, the Wausau West Warrior High School hockey team will play host to East Merrill United. Hear all the exciting action live on 98.9 WXCO. Online at WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 6:35 and the opening face-off at 7 p.m. Wausau West Hockey on 98.9 WXCO is brought to you by Sun Printing, the Wausau West Athletic Department, Cloverbelt Credit Union, sponsor of the Cloverbelt Credit Union broadcast booth, Rocket Industrial, and the Wausau Business Show, the Wausau Cyclones, the Wausau West Hockey Booster Club, Four Seasons Golf of Wausau, Mike Whitmore Construction, and Operating Engineers Local 139. Our ultimate sports sponsor is Wausau West Hockey against East Merrill United, Tuesday night, starting with pregame show at 6:35 on 98.9 WXCO, WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app. Local radio thrives when it serves the community. WXCO is no different, and we're looking to add someone to our staff that is well connected around town. Someone who can help our local businesses increase traffic and their visibility among our audience. From connecting clients with high school sports, local news and weather, or the Chad Holmes Show. If you know local business owners, we'd like to get to know you. If you'd like to know more about this opportunity, send me, Chad Holmes, a message at chad.holmes@civicmedia.us. That's chad.holmes@civicmedia.us. And let's set up a time to talk.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Wisconsin. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
Chad Holmes Show, hour number 2 on the Sports 2 stream of WXCO.FM and the Civic Media app. Also on YouTube, youtube.com and the 98.9 WXCO channel. With Ian Welsh, again, I am Chad Holmes. It is Tuesday, January the 27th of 2026, day number 27 of this year. So that means there are 338 days remaining in 2026. And some famous events have occurred on this date in history. In 1832, mathematician and novelist Lewis Carroll, especially remembered for Alice's Adventures in Wonderland from 1865, and its sequel Through the Looking Glass in 1871, was born in Daresbury, Cheshire, England.
Nice.
On this date in 1880, American inventor Thomas Edison patented the incandescent lamp. On this date in 1885, Jerome Kern, a composer best known for his musical comedies, was born in New York City. On this date in 1944, the Soviet Red Army ousted German and Finnish forces from Leningrad, concluding an 872-day siege. On this date in 1945, the Nazi concentration camp at Auschwitz in German-occupied Poland was liberated by Soviet troops. On this date in 1955, John G. Roberts Jr., who served as the 17th Chief Justice and currently is serving as the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, was born in Buffalo, New York. I don't think that history will look kindly upon the robbers' courts, giving unlimited immunity to a sitting president of the United States. Just one example of that.
Mm-hmm.
On this date in 1967, a tragic day in American space history. During a simulation of a launch, U.S. astronauts Virgil Grissom, Edward White, and Roger Chaffee died in a fire aboard Apollo 1. On this date in 1973, the Paris Peace Accords, formally ending the Vietnam War, were signed, providing for an exchange of prisoners and for the unilateral withdrawal of U.S. forces from South Vietnam, although fighting did continue until 1975. On this date in 1976, the first episode of the sitcom Laverne and Shirley, a spin-off of Happy Days, aired on ABC. It starred Cindy Williams and Penny Marshall. On this date in 2010, J.D. Salinger, author who is best known for The Catcher in the Rye, which uses humor and colorful language to portray the sensitive, rebellious adolescent Holden Caulfield, died at the age of 91. And on this date in 2018, Ingvar Kamprad, who founded the home furnishing retailer IKEA, the world's largest seller of furniture in the early 21st century, died at the age of 91.
I think I've only been in IKEA like one time. I honestly don't remember much of it.
Yeah, so that is a look at some of the famous events this date in history. All right, well, to wrap things up, let's give Ian his number for the day quiz.
Okay.
And I'm going to use a number from the headlines.
All right.
Of course, ice still in Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Yeah.
The number for the day is: how many federal agents involving basically ICE and also members of the Customs and Border Protection personnel? So basically a mix of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, and Customs and Border Protection personnel. Approximately how many of these federal officers and agents are currently deployed in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area?
Okay.
And basically this deployment outnumbers local Minneapolis and St. Paul police officers 3-1. So there's a hint for you. So how many ICE agents are in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area for Operation Metro Surge? Is it approximately 2,000 federal officers and agents, approximately 3,000 federal officers and agents, or approximately 4,000 federal officers and agents?
Okay. I am going to say 3,000. 3,000 is my final answer. I go with 3,000.
As of late January of 2026, approximately 3,000 federal agents and officers comprising a mix of Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Customs and Border Protection personnel are deployed in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area. So
sort of feels like a victory on that one.
Well, no, you got it right. That's the good thing. So
that's true. I'm one for two.
1 for 2 on the week. So tomorrow morning, join us at 8:06. We'll be joined in studio by Katie Rosenberg, former mayor of Wausau. Yep, so she'll be joining us tomorrow morning. And then in the second hour, we're going to respond to Mr. Conley's idea that the mob cannot win in Minneapolis. So we'll talk about that. Ian, have a good rest of your day.
You too, Chad. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us for the Chad Holmes Show, 98.9 WXCO.